everybody, and welcome. My name is Kaylin Kless. If you've been here before, you've spoken with me a little bit in our Game Master web series, where we are doing deep dives on different modules in SalesScreen and how to use the product better for different strategies and different goals. And today we have a special event planned where we have Sindre Haaland with us, our CEO and founder, the original game master of our company. Sindre, thank you so much for joining us on our customer webinar for this AMA. So why don't you give us a little background about yourself and how SalesScreen got started?
Thanks, Caleb. Big fan of these series, and it's about time. It's been a while. I actually started SalesScreen back in 2011. So I've been the CEO here now for well over a decade. It took a few years until we found our stride and created SalesScreen. So the platform itself has been on the market since March 2014. And prior to SalesScreen, I've done different things, but primarily I'm a computer geek. So I was coding from a very young age, and I had my first kind of like side businesses at the age of 16, renting out servers in a location that I rented. And then I went into university where I found my co-founders, Marius and Oystein, amongst others. And we were all going on a track for artificial intelligence, but I was kind of like seeing the big consultancy firms stealing up all the talent. So I decided, let's just go. So I started SalesScreen, or what we were called at that time, Dogu. And then we were just doing consultancy work, and we were trying to find different products that could work in the end. And then, a long story short, we pivoted and ended up with SalesScreen. So I'm more of a computer engineering guy, turned into a lover of the game of sales. So that came through this business.
What would you say is like the biggest difference in feeling from being primarily, like you said, engineering guy to being in charge of a sales company?
Yeah, it's very different type of buyer persona, and it's one that I really enjoy, honestly. It's like, and this might be a bit of a generalization, but like most people that I know and work with and had the pleasure of serve with SalesScreen, it's very high energy and they're really passionate and they love what they're doing. Everyone in sales, they're not in sales to trick you or anything. They're in there because they really believe in the product that they're selling and that they can generate meaningful value in return for the customers. So all of them have that same level of passion. And we just saw that from a very, very, very early age with SalesScreen, like that the people that we were working with, they were so passionate about what they were doing and the product. And that just had a very positive impact on me as a first-time founder, but also on the product and the customer feedback loop.
That leads me very well into our first official question, I guess you might say, which is how does the customer voice and that feedback that we get from customers shape the direction of the product or the company itself? And on that note, how can customers get more involved in shaping our roadmap?
Yeah, it's one of our founding principles because prior to SalesScreen, we actually made a couple of SaaS products that failed miserably. One was like corporate messaging application, one was like an info screen solution. But what made us successful was the fact that the idea from SalesScreen came from a customer using our other tool, and we started to pivot towards it, and we decided like everything that we're going to do with this product, we're not going to listen to ourselves because that was the mistakes that we've learned from. We based it on cool technology and our own ideas. No, we're going to ask our customers and have them direct us in what we're going to build next. So it actually became something that we did very, very early on, and we decided that everything that we're going to build is going to be fueled by the customers. So today, of course, we have a much more experience and many voices to listen to. But I think so far this year, we processed more than 500 customer feedback notes in Product Board. We dedicated minimum 30% of our engineering time just to build customer requested features, meaning the ones that are most voted on our product portal, which you can find inside the tool. Just hit the question mark button and down on left corner, there's a product portal there. You can see the things that's under consideration. You can vote on them. You can add comments. You can come with new suggestions. You can talk to your CSM on support chat with ideas. Everything is going to be logged, marked, and it's going to be inputted into our own internal decision-making algorithms and what comes next on the roadmap. So that voice of the customer is critical, and it's not only being used for the 30%. Like that's very concrete. Like we just do what they tell us. And then, of course, it's all also influencing the other 70%.
Can you give some examples of either like updates that were added based on customer feedback or a change in direction that was made based on feedback?
Yeah, I mean, that happens all the time. And there's been a couple of things that we thought of that has been requested, and we added it as an idea. And we started to see some suggestions come in and comments, and in other times, none of it because they don't really care. And one example of that is I think it was like a soft skill module that was requested by some of our software customers that wanted to be able to, on the player profile, track people on like their soft skills and be like, okay, you're really good at conversation, you're really good at negotiation, you're really good at competitive differentiation. It could be like soft skills and they rate them. And then they can rate them again when you kind of level up. And you can see over time how they develop on their soft skills. And obviously, there's a use case for it, and some people were excited for it, but most people were like, meh, doesn't really matter. So we ultimately decided to not do anything about it and was like, one of the rationale was starting to become a bit too much HR. And our customers are like the buyers are the sales leaders, and it's them we're working with, and we want to make sure that they get what they really find valuable. So this is one example of a thing that we thought of that we got feedback on or lack of, and we kind of like pushed away.
So is there any example of a feature where people, rather than being less enthusiastic than you originally thought, where people were much more enthusiastic about something that you would have then realized at first?
Yeah, one example which brings me way back, but it almost feels silly saying it now. But when we launched SalesScreen initially, we didn't have any, let's say, incentives, competitions, contests. There was no competition module. So the first tool were without it. It had badges and achievements and stuff, but not competitions. And like that was an early idea that we flagged and saw potential in, that people could run contests and campaigns. And that was something that really, really resonated with our customer base. And one of the main enterprises who's still a very active customer decided to pay us good money to prioritize the development of that module because it was so critical for them. So it's one of those examples where everyone is kind of in sync and it's like, okay, we got to do this. And we're kind of seeing something similar today with the AI. It's definitely a hot topic with everyone. And it's like something people are requesting. You have so much data, how we perform now, but also historically. And like you should leverage AI to really give us some indications on how it's going and suggestions on what to do next. So yeah.
What are some things that are exciting about adding AI into an existing project and developing AI to your particular ends?
Yeah, it's extremely exciting. It's like the times we're living in right now, I think it's almost unprecedented. Keep in mind that our CTO, our CPO, and myself, we all have background in artificial intelligence. So we know the algorithms, we know how it works, and it's been on our radar, of course, for a long time. But there's a couple of things that you need to kind of like unlock the full potential of AI. And part of it is a lot of data. We've accumulated a lot of data over time. And the second part is meaningful context. So AI without context is kind of like doesn't really make sense. And then these large language models came and they could provide a lot of context to unstructured data. But on top of that, we have been working silently for a couple of years now, rebuilding more of the metrics and everything in the platform to give more context to an AI engine. So what we're coming up with right now is actually really working, and that's exciting. So yeah, it's good times, and also for us.
So this is asking you to look into the future a little bit. So with the knowledge that no one can say for sure, but not just at SalesScreen, but in the sales landscape in general, how do you see AI transforming the landscape of performance management, of tracking productivity, and going beyond that?
Yeah, it's already happening, but AI is taking out the busy work of sales. So being really good at the human level is just increasingly important. Be that conversational skills, bonding, or understanding what is said between the lines and body language and whatever. It's like all of those things that makes us human. It's still very hard to do by a machine. But what isn't hard to do anymore is to surface like meaningful connections with your tool and the person you're meeting or the company, like research and note taking and putting into CRMs and surfacing who you should call to next or who you should talk to. Like all of that, which took a lot of time and still takes a lot of time for many people, that's just going to go towards zero. It's going to be automated as much as possible so that you can spend your time interacting with other human beings and solving real problems with your creativity and your mind. So I think that there's going to be less busy work and, let's say, valuable work in your interactions. So I'm excited for the future of sales with AI. I think it's just going to be more fun, honestly.
So how do you see that human element? Like, what do you see as being the most important human element in both sales and managing a sales team in your own personal philosophy of motivation?
Yeah, so I mean, like, it's not going to be only a numbers game like it used to. Like before, it was like, okay, the more dials you make, the more you're going to sell, or the more people you put into a sequence and you prospect and send emails to them, whatever, that's going to unlock more sales. Like, I think it's going to be increasingly more focus on quality metrics, like conversion rates, and like how good you are to actually take those conversations that you get, the at-bats, and convert them into the next step of your funnel. So I think the human skills in such is going to put a bit under pressure. But I also think that the good ones is really going to thrive, and the ones who are like following a process and almost like a machine is going to fall through. So you need to be genuinely passionate about what you do. You need to be curious and you need to be intelligent enough to take what you're hearing and converting that into value in real time, which is super hard. So in a way, it's going to be more fun, but it's also going to be more, let's say, hard to succeed in sales. And the ones who will succeed, they will succeed at a scale that we haven't seen before.
So what are some of the biggest challenges that have come with creating a platform that is technologically based, but it's trying to help in a human-centered way? And how have you overcome some of those challenges?
Yeah, it's not been easy, honestly. It's like building a gamification platform for sales teams. It's all about the human elements, and it's like how in each individual are motivated to do more and to do better at their job and the tasks at hand. So like how do you change behaviors and how do you get people to get more excited to do that repetitive work that they do every day? With or without AI, it's going to have a nature of repetitiveness and your motivation is going to be tested. So, like in the end, you still need to wake up feeling excited, passionate, and love what you're doing. And we can, through technology, build that type of environment, build that type of culture. But it comes down to knowing that individuals are motivated differently. So being able to like curate a platform that has multiple elements that speaks to the socialites who's thriving on social recognition, but also at the same time also the killers who love to be on top of leaderboards and winning and standing out. Like, yeah, that's almost polar opposites, but you will find both types in the sales team, and you need to speak to all of them and kind of like balance the different elements so that it actually elevates the middle and bottom performers and doesn't only work for the killer type or like the ones who really wants to win and be on top of leaderboard. So it's not only a leaderboard tool, like that's one of the elements speaking to a very small selection of the people that constitute your sales team. Like we need to create a platform that elevates the middle part. That's where the big value lies. And that's challenging because that's talking about human psychology and change behavior, behavioral psychology.
So what do you personally find most valuable about using SalesScreen? Because we use SalesScreen at SalesScreen.
Yeah.
What have you found to be the most valuable or fun element of gamification that we use internally?
For me, I love the competitiveness of the platform and like in a way that it kind of like shines a good spotlight on good performance. We also integrated this with Strava, so we get all our physical activities over in the platform. So if I've done a really long run, that's going to be seen by my colleagues and people inside the company. They're going to engage with that. They're going to add comments. They're going to like it. And that just makes it so much more rewarding. So I love that social value in the tool to some extent, like the ability to feel connected to others and kind of feel like you're part of something that's driving forward and you're cheering on each other. It creates a culture of recognition and appreciation, but based on performance. So you still need to do your work and you still need to do well, but that there's something, it's like a carrot instead of the stick. So instead of having that naggy manager who's kind of like, you gotta do this or that, and it's like, I want to do it. So yeah, I love that part of the platform, just feeling more self-determined and motivated.
Has there ever been like something that motivated people that you wouldn't have thought, whether it's like a prize or a way of doing something that took you by surprise?
Yeah, that was one customer actually. They used our gift swap competition once, and they had the brilliant idea of adding negative gifts. And I was like, "What? Wait, what?" And I was like, "Yeah, yeah." And they explained the concept to me. It's in this competition, it's like you can limit it to only be so that you can have one prize. So every time you, let's say, book a meeting, if that's the contest, you will try to steal someone else's, and the system decides if you're successful or not. But if you succeed, you swap. So you actually swap the gifts. And so in that case, having some negative gifts, like take 10 push-ups in front of your colleagues, is actually a fun element to the whole contest because then suddenly I can be there sitting with that brand new iPhone and just 5 minutes before the end, someone's able to snatch that from me and swaps me 10 push-ups. That's hilarious, especially if it happens the other way around. But still, I think it creates an edge into it that I just didn't foresee when we created it. So that was pretty cool.
I think it's also because I've seen us use that strategy internally. I didn't know it came from a customer, but I think for people who are shyer probably and are afraid to steal a gift from someone, if they have a negative one that they're afraid that they're going to have to do the push-ups, then all of a sudden they're
Oh yeah.
deal.
Or feast on fire.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
What's something that you wish more customers would take advantage of in the platform?
There's a few things. I guess a couple of things that comes to mind is like the feeds in the contest itself. Like there's a chat feature. So I would love to see more banter. People be like, ah, Jesus, you suck, or like whatever, and be like throwing a bit of that shit in the chat channel. I think that creates some fun moments, especially when they get surpassed again. So some more banter, like that people would do that and own up to the consequence. I think that would be a lot of fun. Of course, some do it, but more of it. And the other part would probably, maybe because it's top of mind right now, but like missions, this is one of our latest releases, and it's just such an impactful and powerful feature because you can really like there's a lot of science behind this, but like when you put the goal and you talk about it openly, of course you're going to commit to it much more. It's like if you're going to take 10 pounds off, like if that is a goal that I just keep for myself, like it's has one likelihood of succeeding, but if I say that to my family and my friends, that likelihood skyrockets. And it's the same with missions. So having people actually think about what they want to accomplish this week, this month, put that into like a mission with the steps that they see as key for their success. And they have decided those things, like not the manager putting on them, but they themselves putting that into the SalesScreen system then and making it public, not private. Like it really creates accountability on just a different scale. So seeing more of that as just a natural part of your culture, I would love to see that. Yeah.
Are there plans to expand SalesScreen into other markets or functions beyond sales?
I mean, sometimes our name kind of is a bit of a challenge in that sense that it can definitely work for many other functions already. So, like our engineering team is on it, our CSM team is on it, our support team is on it. Like we have a very robust platform and flexible in the sense that you can track any type of activity that as long as it's measurable and it's time bound, so it happens at a given time, then you can put it into SalesScreen and gamify it. So if that's insurance, claims handling, or whatever, it works with the same principle. So you can do gamification on many work functions and have more fun and engaging atmosphere and culture of appreciation, recognition. Doesn't have to be sales. With that said, one of the biggest learnings as a CEO was probably that speed comes from focus. So it's also helping us in that regard. So by limiting it a bit into sales, then we will get more voices that are aligned, less spread in systems we need to integrate to, and like in differences in what they deem as important on the future roadmap because your customers more homogeneous, they have many of the same challenges and issues and you can really solve them. So there's a risk of spreading yourself too thin if you go too wide. So right now, our focus is to stay within sales gamification, and that's our niche, and that's where we want to grow. So there isn't really any plans to expand to different, let's say, roles, but it can easily be used in different roles.
What are some ways that you see SalesScreen as being most effective in terms of tailoring the platform to specific use cases and industries?
So there's many use cases in SalesScreen where it works for, but I would say if you think about it from an intuitive perspective, like the stuff that you need to do on a daily basis and maybe even many times a day requires much more determination or motivation from yourself in order to achieve. Let's take the software industry as an example. We could definitely help motivate sales teams that work with enterprise sales, like really long sales cycles, right? But the reality is that the process leading to an enterprise sales is not always that, let's say, intuitive or easy to understand. It requires many different steps and it goes like in all different directions. You're always working towards those big deals and you're doing a lot of stuff, but it's hard to kind of quantify what you should be doing today. And then it's a bit harder to gamify it. You can recognize it, but that's not necessarily the same. So you can apply gamification elements and have fun with it, but it's not the same. I would say the more, let's say, day-to-day based, the better. So if you take the same industry with software, if you have like a team that's supposed to set meetings for these enterprise sales reps, their sales process is that they need to do a minimum of activities every day, phone calls, prospecting work, research work, adding people to a sequence. Like that requires a high level of determination and motivation to achieve. And that's where you want to gamify it. So you need to look at what is it that is repetitive of nature and that is by a human nature a bit tough to do consistently and a lot of, because those are the areas where gamification can really shine. If that makes sense.
It does, because I mean, whether it's sales or anything else, it's always fun to complete a project. You don't need a lot of help motivating yourself to close a sale or to finish a project and show it off. It's the grind of getting there that I think people forget
It's the
the fun
grind.
of.
Absolutely.
So, what is the biggest lesson that you've learned as a CEO, in your opinion?
I guess I've been CEO for a long time, but I'm not sure if it was Einstein who said it or if that's just made up. But like people underestimate what you can do in a lifetime, but overestimate what they can do in a very short time. So it's more about like as a CEO, you need to commit to the long run and you need to do the grind. You need to do the small things that kind of builds, like build a bit stone by stone, and it's going to be really, really good a few years later. But it's so easy to get distracted and jump on the latest trend, or this looks really shiny. Oh, there's a customer in this industry that wants it. We should dive in on that industry 100%. That's not the way to go. So you need to like really set long-term goals and build stone by stone and keep a focused attention. So keep your focus and be a bit patient. Yeah.
We're getting into the last couple of minutes, so I have a few just rapid fire questions for you, if you don't mind. This is the lightning round of the AMA. So the
Sure.
first one is, and I'm a little bit aware of this one, you touched on it a bit, but how competitive are you in real life?
No, I would say I'm pretty competitive. I'm an avid board gamer on my free time, and I never play to just have fun. I'm gonna play to win. So,
And if SalesScreen had a mascot other than Scout, what would that be?
um, good question. I think in a way, if you really want to encompass what we do, you could say this might sound a bit strange, but a slot, but with a jetpack.
Okay.
So yeah, basically taking something that goes really slow but steady, and then just giving it a jetpack and accelerates everything. So that would be a cool mascot.
I like that. I am team sloth with a jetpack. We should hang on to that even on this. What is a feature that almost launched but didn't, and why?
There was a crazy feature way back when we were trying to really 100% follow everything what the customer was asking for. Quite a lot of as customer asked us to build CRM features or like what we ended up having inside a tool, but only one customer used it. It's like a lead module. where you could upload Excel sheets with leads and go through them to call them, and then that activity gets tracked inside the system. So very quickly we became almost like a dialer, a manual dialer per se, with the statistics, but that wasn't what we were going towards. So luckily we killed that and released it for all of our customers.
I know I'm always excited when I see a restaurant that does a very specific kind of food and just does that, because I know they probably do that really well. So I think something similar is at play here. What on
Exactly.
okay, that actually one of our lightning round questions is what is your favorite snack? So that fits in well.
I mean, it's summertime here, and we have some amazing strawberries in Norway. So right now, it's definitely my number one snack.
Nice. I think full disclosure was put in by Britt. I think she wanted you to talk about the fish and tomato sauce, is what she was saying, that you encouraged her to try.
Well, it's not any fish. It's like a mackerel. So it's a very, very nice fish that you can get a lot of outside. And then, of course, put it in tomato sauce and on a piece of bread. It's perfect.
Yes. What is the funniest or most unusual customer case use case that you've seen?
Many years back, we got an inbound demo request from the patent office in Norway. So first I was a bit like, oof, what's happening? Patent office reaching out. And then it turns out that they wanted to gamify the clerks doing the patent cases. So the measure would be every time they completed a patent case, that would be the metric, and then they would have targets on it and leaderboards and everything. And I was like, wow, this could actually work. Very unusual though.
And finally, what song would play when you walk into a meeting?
To give that extra boost, maybe Eye of the Tiger. Yeah. So,
Nice. Very, very well chosen. So we are past time, but this has been so great. Thank you for joining us. And we'll hopefully have to do one of these again sometime, because I would be sad if it was just a one-time thing.
yeah, great. Thank you.
Bye. And thank you everyone for joining us and for everyone who suggested questions.